Hi, welcome to the Summer Stock Showcase at Stuhr Museum. We're in the Leo Stuhr building here where we often showcase fine art along with our permanent exhibition. I'm Chris Hochstetler. I'm the Executive Director here at Stuhr Museum, and this is Brad Mellema, a dear friend with Grand Island Visitor, Grand Island Tourism. Does a great job representing Grand Island and Stuhr Museum as well.
Well, thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure to be here again and take a little art walk with you and just enjoy some of this together today.
Thank you. Brad and I are both connoisseurs of artwork, so we love getting together and talking about art and sharing some of that with you.
On the second floor of the Stuhr building, when I came in and I saw this lovely piece by Sally Jurgensmeyer, what struck me first was the way you have it presented here. So whoever hung your show put some good attention to detail. I enjoyed the way the light came and the shadow went on the wall. As a photographer, it's all about the light and shadow, so I'm always looking at that. But incidentally, the painting right next to us has a wonderful shadow from the ladder that's being capstone there, so that's something that caught my eye right away. But Sally Jurgensmeyer is a friend of mine. I have a piece of hers at home in our garden, and been to her farm south of Hartwell, Nebraska, over in the Minden area. If you ever get the chance to stop in there, she does some open houses occasionally, and it's really where she comes from. I went out and actually photographed her as an artist a number of years ago. But this is a metal sculpture entitled Glassy Grain. Well, if you've been to her farm, you'll understand it's completely surrounded by corn and bean fields, and her art comes from the piles of metal that you might see at any given farm around. And so over the years, she's taken and harvested a lot of that. A lot of this looks like maybe she's trimming it off with some various stock that she may have in there. But what's fun is these insulators off of the old, maybe the communication poles near a railroad or someplace like that. We actually, the flower that we had made, asked her to insert some of those insulators at home. We had some blue ones that went in there, and when the sun strikes it, it's really fun to see. So I was really drawn to this piece of Sally's. It's just fun and whimsical work.
And it's really her personality. You know, when you talk to Sally, she's a little bitty thing, but very bubbly, very
crazy, yeah.
A little crazy,
yeah.
Real energetic, almost overwhelming with her energy.
She is.
And you really see that in her work and her pieces, and I do enjoy that, because when you get to know an artist and then you see their work and you can start to see that personality come out, I think that's really what connects you to a piece of work. The other thing I'll say about her work is it is so very accessible. I mean, when you can come up to this and you can see, wow, I can appreciate that. I know the name of it is Glassy Grain, and I can encounter this corn stalk, and then I see it, I'm like, wow, I don't have to spend a lot of time saying, wow, what is that? I just don't know. And with Sally's work, you can sometimes figure it out what it is. And also, you could put a piece like this inside, you could put it outside.
You could, yeah. You've got a half a dozen of her pieces here, and some are more intricate, maybe a little bit smaller, and then she does large things. So when you go to her place or go to a show like you have here at Stuhr Museum, you're going to see a whole variety of things from Sally. And like I said, this one is certainly a lot of fun from a very local artist, and it's very much informed by where she grew up and where she lives, right, and where her studio is today.
Right. There's a Jeremy Daniels piece I'd like to spend some time with, so maybe we can go over there.
Let's do it.
So this Jeremy Daniels piece is it's just stunning. The color is amazing. It's called Prairie Sojourner. And it brings up so many different images to my mind. First of all, of course, the bison, which is integral to the prairie, but the color scheme, the abstract nature of it, it's just wow, isn't it?
It is. You've got, half a dozen of his pieces here. Color is where it's at. His use of color is just amazing. And then when you get into this piece, you can look at it up close and begin to see the detail in the swirls and the beautiful integration of color there. But it's a very powerful piece.
It's really incredible. And when you encounter a painting, there's a lot of different things that will capture you and draw you in. But one of the things that always pulls me in is just the texture and the depth of something. And you can get a sense of texture even if it's not full of peaks and valleys and all those things. And he's really done that here with just the use of color.
Yeah, I was going to say the outline of the animal in the background are somewhat simple, but boy, it's really punctuated by that. I think earlier when you and I were looking at it, you said it could even be a flag.
That's right.
Just the way that background has that look to it and the horizontal nature of that back there. It's a wonderful piece.
And another thing Jeremy has done here, I think, is this is certainly abstract contemporary art, but there's abstract art that is sitting right there on the edge it's so avant-garde that you wouldn't hang it in your house. You say, unless I was a real connoisseur, I just would not put it above the sofa or above the mantle. What he's done here with this bison is he's walked that line so well. This would hang lovely anywhere.
Well, any home, we're prairie people here. The bison is of the prairie, and it certainly would be at home in anybody that likes that prairie or that nature theme to what they have in their setting in their home.
It really is. And Jeremy is from Hastings, well known for landscapes, Nebraska skies, Platte River stuff, but the work that we have here in the Summer Stock Showcase that Jeremy has done by and large, it is really this very colorful acrylic work. We've got a few homages to some of the very famous jazz musicians, Ray Charles, Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald. And they're really large pieces, aren't they?
They are, and they're powerful too. I mean, you took these figures like Ella Fitzgerald, very powerful in the way that they're presented, and the color that's used there. It's almost like you would see in the Caribbean. That kind of use of the way the color is. It kind of reminded me, reminiscent of that.
It is, and I think it also speaks to the diversity of our community here in central Nebraska that not everybody always acknowledges, right? But we are a very diverse, inclusive community, multicultural, and maybe you would want to speak a little bit about that, I don't know, but it is kind of catching me off guard. But we are a very multicultural community.
We are. The communities, and I'm going to go back to Grand Island here. You look at the people groups that we have here now. So Stuhr Museum tips its hat to the 1890s and so forth in a big way when we had German and other ethnic groups coming to the area. Well, that has continued over the years. And so we have in Grand Island a thriving Cuban community. We have all kinds of Central and South American communities, of course, Mexican community that have come in here. And boy, the richness of those people groups that have come in here have found their way into the art of the area. It's fantastic.
And what do you think that's done for our arts and culture scene here in this part of the state?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, you go up to some of the sidewalk art that we might have up on 4th Street. There's a beautiful Cuban one just on 4th Street, just to the east of the viaduct, the Burlington. Oh, it's fantastic.
Right.
So there's some really neat stuff that's starting to bring the flavor of those homelands to our community.
There really is. Maybe next we'll go to perhaps a more traditional artist, and let's look at some of Ann Martin's work.
Okay, we've got artist Ann Martin, who is a local artist, and she's got a good representation here in your show. But this particular one caught both of our eyes. It is such a Nebraska pastoral scene. Mm-hmm. And this couple of the things, first of all, the color, it's real. If you live here, you know that our sunrises and sunsets introduce this kind of color into our daily lives. And the sky dominates the scene here. It really does.
On almost all of her work, you and I have talked about this, where in many places in the country, and artists learn the rule of thirds when they're setting up a piece. But in many places in the country, you would find that the landscape itself would consume maybe almost as half of a canvas. Is that right?
That's true. You'll see that. But again, here it's what? It's all about the sky.
That's
It's,
right.
in Nebraska, I call it, it's a study in horizontality. The horizontal scenes that we have here, and that of course accentuates that. And so Ann's clearly gone out and seen this scene for herself in her mind's eye, maybe photographed it, I'm not sure how she works that way, but she was able to take this very lovely scene, got the Herefords down in here, a classic scene there, and then again the color in the scenescape here is just really, really well done.
And isn't it amazing as artists how we are always so impacted by our surroundings? And I know you spend a lot of time with photography, and you know, you have mentioned to me that you can look at a photo or you can look at a painting and you say, wow, I may not know that artist, but that really looks like a Nebraska palette or a central Nebraska palette, or that looks like a Western palette, you know, far West Coast. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, everybody, I think, is certainly influenced by their surroundings. And so if you're either from here originally or if you've moved to this area, it's going to be that. And your show beautifully illustrates that. So most of your artists have some connection to this, or deep connections, I should say, to this area. And I think exactly what you just described certainly informs the artwork of the individuals, and Anne certainly is no exception to that. Boy, you've got some really great pieces of hers scattered throughout.
We really do, and this is pretty typical of her work, and I think that if you love big skies, and this is definitely big sky country, you will absolutely love Ann Martin's work. Her studio is in Doniphan, Nebraska, and she went to Hastings College and graduated Hastings College with an art degree, and then kind of put it on ice for a little while she had her professional career. Just recently returned to painting. So that's another thing. You know, you and I have often talked about pursuit of creativity and who can do it and who should do it. You know, it's never too late to go back and try, right?
It is, and I'm so glad she has. And her art is certainly on the upswing, I think. I think she's really creating a name for herself as a painter, as an artist, and not just locally here, but I think through Nebraska and through the Midwest, she's certainly gaining a reputation as a fine artist.
I agree. So we've got 8 different artists, Brad, that we've showcased in this. And to your point, you know, these are all artists who have a deep Nebraska connection. They're either from here, pretty in close proximity. They've contributed to Stuhr Museum shows in the past. Maybe Wings Over the Platte, which is a traditional show for us that we love, both of us love. But we've installed it, interestingly enough, so that you will encounter, when you come here, Ann Martin's work next to Karen Leno's photography, for example. And we've also got a unique install going here. And I said earlier, this is a rather European way of installing artwork. When I encounter artwork, I typically like to stand in front of a piece and have some breathing room on both sides. But I kind of like this eclectic feel of just being full, because it's interesting to come up to a piece and actually see something in the peripheral that you can mention, like the ladder earlier.
Right,
you
the
know,
shadows across
the shadows across it, and how the pieces maybe interact with each other. So this is a little bit different. You're a photographer. We've got Karen Leno's work here. Talk to us a little bit about photography as art and where that's kind of come through the years.
Let's do that. Okay, we've got some photographs here by a Gibbon-based photographer, so that's just about 30 miles to the west of here. Karen Leno, I hope I'm saying her name right. I've not met Karen, but she has a wonderful display here of some of her work. And Gibbon is right just near or on the Platte River, depending on where her home is. And we all know that the bird and crane migration goes through there in a big way. And again, her photography certainly is manifesting where she lives. Looking through some of the imagery, she's got some close-up fine detail of ice, and there's even an ice storm here where everything was coated with ice. And she's got a nice different set of displays here. So we've got a photograph. This appears to be printed on metal or aluminum. We've got a canvas wrap here. We've got a traditional glass frame type. So she's got a large variety of presentation of her work here. Looks like we've got some crane photographs backlit by the clouds and the sun there. That's a lovely image there, one of my favorites perhaps. And then the contrail coming up through the lone tree there into the thing. And does that remind you of something we've already been talking about? Nebraska, the landscape, the sky, those kinds of things. And I appreciate what Karen's done with her camera.
So this photography work, and I'm so glad that you're a photographer yourself as an artist, this photography work that has really grown to move beyond, just hanging a plain photo in a frame on the wall to canvas or to metal or those various, mediums, I guess, that you share that artistry on. How has that evolved?
Recently? First of all, let's just say it's a lot of fun. As a photographer, you got options. Okay, when I was a kid, you had your film, you made your print, you went out, you just sort of did your thing. But now some of these metal prints and some of the types of canvas wraps and things that we have available to us, you can really get into a lot of different things. And it looks like she's experimenting with a lot of things that might work best for the image that she's trying to portray. And so there's an enormous amount. Now, I don't know if she prints in-house or if she takes them out, but you can certainly do that in-house now.
And it really changes the feel of the image, doesn't it?
It does. A canvas wrap, for example, this when I say wrap, it's literally wrapped around a wood frame. Makes it very easy to display that. You can even wrap that with a frame itself if you wanted to. So that's a very popular thing that you'll see photographers selling their imagery that way.
Thank you. Well, let's check out another artist. Okay, the work that we want to talk about next, that Brad and I want to spend some time with, is the work of Grimminger. And the reason I want to spend some time on this is because she's got a lot of beadwork as well as textile work in this show. And oftentimes we don't consider, necessarily beadwork or textiles as art.
Well, I think that would be a mistake. When you begin to look at the work that she's produced here in the 3D, it's just amazing, the intricate detail and the interplay of color and form. It's really fantastic.
It really, really is. And this beaded handbag that we're standing in front of, that's under glass right now, is so very intricate that you can't even imagine how long it would have taken to place all of these beads on this bag and sew it into the bag. It truly is incredible. It actually looks like something from another age almost.
It could. I mean, maybe a Persian influence or something like that. I don't know what her influences are that way, but it certainly has that to it. And this is a work of passion. You're not going to count the clock on the hours of work that it takes for that type of thing. And so I have a great appreciation for someone taking the time to put that kind of detail
Truly.
into this.
And Kate taught art to students here in Grand Island and in Grand Island Public Schools for many, many years, and now she's retired. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about the fact that we do have many artists teach. I mean, you teach yourself at the college level. Mm-hmm. And is there some passion that moves the artist to say, well, I want to share this with students and I want to pass this on? So to speak.
Well, every teacher is going to have their own thing. You look at the movie Mr. Holland's Opus, right? And he just thought, I'll just do this teaching gig until I can do my real music, and he ended up making a whole career of it. So everybody that teaches, but it does keep you connected to the art, connected to young people and the fresh minds that are there. And so it's really a fantastic way to do that. So frequently, a teacher will have the art that they do with their students, but they'll have their passion that they'll find their time to
practice.
Yeah, it keeps you connected.
One of the things that I find about being around young people as someone who loves to make art myself is that they always seem to challenge you with those fresh eyes. They always seem to say, wow, well, what if I did it this way? And sometimes we're challenged by that because, maybe that's not the way that traditionally we do it, but that's the way great art is made, right?
That's absolutely true. You got to keep yourself in the mindset to be creative. I was just saying it at work today. I haven't been creative for the last couple of weeks here, and I'm like, I got to get into some projects there. It just fulfills you. And so
I agree with you, Brad, and I always appreciate conversations with you because it's good to impart to everybody who's listening or watching and come to visit the Summer Stock Showcase with us or on this video that creativity takes so many different forms. You just mentioned Mr. Holland's Opus. It's how we deal with our own kids. It's do we hum a tune that we've created ourselves? Do we write some poetry? Do we make a beaded bag? Do we put paintbrush to canvas? Do we take a photograph?
Right, and thank you to Stuhr Museum for providing a platform to get these local artists out there and to be appreciated in the scene. So thank you for the work that you take to do that, to hang these shows and to promote them, and wonderful.
Well, as you see this video, I would ask all who are in the sound of this video to come visit Grand Island. It's a wonderful, wonderful place. You do a wonderful job promoting Grand Island, our community. There's so many things to do here, Stuhr Museum being one of, but this is a beautiful place to come. There's nothing else like a sunset or a sunrise here in Grand Island, Nebraska, and just the beauty of the prairie.
That's true. And again, back to Stuhr, I'll let you toot your horn just a little more. The history, when you tie the history in with the art and the various things that are here, the beautiful Stuhr building, or whether it's Railroad Town, it's a great place to bring the family, and it's kind of hard to do it all in one day.
It is. So come spend a weekend with us here in Grand Island at Stuhr Museum and enjoy the Summer Stock Showcase.